Welcome to the Golden Feminine podcast. This is a sacred space dedicated to expand wisdom around feminine energetics, multipotentiality, embodied leadership, love, empowerment, and sexuality. I'm your host, Inês Roqueduval. Hello everyone. So today here in the podcast we have an amazing guest. So Mariya from the app Feel app, such an amazing app around also empowering the feminine in multiple ways, intimacy, pleasure. Um, and I invited Mariya because we were speaking about how to actually be in the feminine when we are just business women running like successful businesses and being in the leadership, enhancing the feminine qualities and actually improving our lifestyle. So welcome, Mariya. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to meet you and get to know your work. I think it's very important what you do, generally helping women to understand what is it that feminine is and how to implement it in your daily life. It's I see some amazing work going on right now. Like it feels like awakening of the feminine in the world, and lots of coaches and therapists and teachers out there start helping us to find the way. And I feel like what stands out about you is that you really help women on the ground, like those who are doing the work and living in the modern world and looking for ways to reconnect with themselves. And I find it very important. So, very exciting for me to also be here and learn from you while we are recording this podcast.
So excited. Oh, thank you so much for being here. Um, so I would love you to also, for those who are listening here, to you to give an introduction about yourself, because what you do is amazing. You are doing such a great thing in the world, especially for the area that I work for, and you are building an amazing community. And like you're such a leader, you are building such a incredible magic. So if you want to also to introduce yourself and talk about what you do, and it will, if you want.
Of course. So, my name is Mariya. I am originally from Kazakhstan, which is a country born out of the collapse of Soviet Union. I mean, not born out, but really the full name of it came in a very difficult and confusing times, and that's when I was born. So I'm a child of very confusing kind of breaking time in where I'm from, and my country has a lot of Muslim influence and post-Soviet Union kind of trauma as well. And that is something that is like ingrained in me in a way that I'm always curious to find my own way. As a result of this kind of upbringing, I don't have a set religious or cultural or social structure. And when it comes to feminine, it is also really interesting to kind of view the way I've been brought up, and then finding my own angle to it. Because again, it's very different how in some way Muslim culture views women, and then how Soviet Union viewed women. And then like my family is completely crazy rebellious, and my grandmother is a powerhouse businesswoman. So it's very interesting, like to come to London having this background and then seeing how different things are in the Western world. And I mean, right now, I am finally on my real truthful mission. I'm building Feel, which is a global community for women to learn all about sexuality, sensuality, feminine power, and pleasure from leading experts, coaches, teachers, mentors, and educators. And pleasure to have you there, Ian. And And this was really like, it is a kind of sisterhood community project, which is also a tech project. Is we are bringing together women online, which allows this knowledge and practices and everything out there that can help women embrace their real power through sensuality and sexuality, that is also accessible. Because when it's online, it allows everyone from all over the world to access knowledge in a safe way, in a potentially anonymous way, and in a way that is really reachable. So the problem that we solve is that there is this wave of amazing knowledge and education and mentorship and for the feminine out there, but kind of accessing that is usually expensive and difficult. Like getting those sessions, coaching, retreats, events that are fabulous and so helpful. Usually, it isn't something that like millions of women can reach. And we are acting as this online bridge to that knowledge that's available. And then women can go on their own path and find um, knowledge and information that they need, basically. But I got here into this place of being on this journey, build and feel, which is so rewarding and amazing. From a different place, before I've been a tech entrepreneur, and which I am now, but I was in a completely different area. I was building a startup in fashion, for which was a platform to book models and for models to get their work directly with clients. That was quite a journey, where I really had to discover my feminine through mistakes, like big mistakes, being super in a masculine, being super stressed, um, crying on the floor, not understanding why everything is so difficult and it was so easy before. That's why the subject of feminine energy is so interesting to me, and I'd like to continue learning about it. I feel I'm finding more and more peace with it, and I'm seeing the power of it, but I'm willing to learn more.
So interesting, and thank you so much for your sharing. And what is actually interesting here is the fact that you are building a business. So this is a business, so it always needs leading from your masculine. Your masculine has to be very activated, so you have to be logical, you have to create a structure, you have to create a community. But you are building a business about feminine, so there is no way that you can escape the femininity and not being feminine in your business, because this is a business that you have to feel the experts, you have to sense, you have to have intuition, you have to awake your feminine qualities, otherwise your business doesn't thrive. Because if you build a business around feeling, right, it's like it's calling feel up, and if you don't have your feminine qualities like enhanced, it's just not going to work, right? So it's very interesting that we are having this conversation, because the purpose of this is just as we were speaking, the purpose of us putting these tools out of the world is to for women to increase their level and increasing the quality of their leadership, right? Leading from their hearts, leading from feeling, leading from their intimacy with themselves, with their authenticity. These practices, although many people think, this is just for sexuality and improve my intimate life, but actually they are just not. Once we go deep into feeling our femininity, we like we will start to broadcast this wisdom to all areas of our lives, right?
Yeah,
Is
exactly. This is what I really like this little this quote that Esther Perel has said on one of her big talks. It's like sexuality is a window on all the transformational change, and through that sexuality, and I'm not saying the correct quote, I'm saying my interpretation. Through sexuality, you can really see who you are as a person, the way because sexuality is expression, and by kind of working on your sexuality, you are learning what is it there that is to express and how much can you express and how much you can feel and how intimate you can be with yourself. So it just seems like sexuality is just that gateway onto further deeper understanding of yourself and accessing that um, growth and that power and that ability to fully develop yourself and continue and on that important path. And it's not just about sex. That's usually people get interested in that space because of course sex is interesting and important.
Yes.
Once you, but once you start discovering what is there is just incredible. And that is a huge part of understanding who you are as a woman and accessing your feminine power. And coming back to business, right? I leading from the feminine is quite an art that I'm still trying to figure out, and I'm learning from other women. I'm learning from women like you, and what I'm finding is there are amazing, inspiring women out there, feminine leaders, who have learned through things like big experience, mistakes, long relationships, building big companies, or being mothers. And usually um, they'd be more mature than I am. We would have a bit like a few tens of years between us. So for me, I learn a lot, yet I'm struggling to understand what is it that I can do now in my 20s to still to kind of embrace that feminine deeper and not be stuck in the masculine while I'm trying to work towards success and build a company.
Yeah.
Um, is
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there should be more conversation and should be more connection between the women who figured it out and women who are still figuring it out. And I guess nobody figured out it deeply, but that conversation should be there more. And on that note, I want to ask you, what is what is feminine energy in simple way?
So there are multiple ways to answer this question, but I'm gonna answer this question from the leadership perspective. So the feminine, in general, is energy. Is the feminine is emotional. The feminine is this nurture part of ourself. Is the feminine. In terms of the leadership, I always like to start from the intuition. So the feminine has this sixth sense, right? Which is our intuition. We always know, right? You have this sixth sense with your children. You have your sixth sense with your partner. We are romantic, but you have this gut feeling and the intuitive feeling, right? That something's happening, and even though your mind cannot understand, it's like you already can like predict future like, through your senses. So this is, especially on leadership, one of the highest qualities that the feminine can have. So being the feminine energy basically is when we embody the qualities of the feminine. So when we are able to surrender, when we are able to trust, when we are able to have empathy for others, when we are able to actually lead from the heart, because the feminine path starts from the heart. Even in love, relationships, leadership, the feminine starts from the heart. The moment we can open our hearts and attune this into leadership, we will be able to have more empathies in our workspace. We will be able to do better decisions in business. I have actually supported several women that actually are entrepreneurs and have big companies, and actually what the biggest transformation that they have from working on the feminine, it's they were able, sometimes when they are this decision making, that you are confused, I don't know, you just tune into your heart and the powers of your intuition, and they never lie to you. Like the
That
mind can lie to you, which is actually how the masculine is driven from. And when the heart and the body and your yoni and your gut, your this deep sixth sense never lies to you. So the moment that we enhance our feminine qualities, enhancing our feminine energy by enhancing the feminine qualities, we were able to actually gain more energy and have more success by increasing our productivity. Because if you basically you are diminishing the risks of failing by
yeah.
following the heart, right? So the feminine increases collaboration. It prioritizes the connection, the values, and actually is focused on creating deep connection with people. The feminine will always bring connection. It's more than, it will always be more than a business, will be all more than leadership, is actually building a connection and meaningful experiences, and everything you do has a powerful purpose that comes from the heart. So this is how I see how to increase like the feminine, being our feminine energy in our in leadership, right? And instead, like the masculine is very like the driven, the work hard. Like of course women also have to work for have their successes, but the feminine is able to actually magnetize things. The feminine is able to be more receptive. The feminine will be able to bring a tool about magnetizing, instead of keep going forward and work hard in this burnout way that actually depletes our creativity. The moment that we deplete our energy, we deplete our creativity. We can actually doing less and be more productive. For example, instead of the masculine, like the dynamics are different. They are like the working hard, like the more that you work hard, the more you spend your time, the more you will have success. The feminine sometimes is the opposite. Like the more we are depleted in this workout mood, this work non-stop mood, the more that actually we will fail, because we will be depleted. Yeah.
That is so true. And I want to just like share my experience here, because sometimes really the only way for you to learn is by making mistakes and experiencing it like on the ground. And exactly what has happened, what you have just described, it has happened to me. That's actually how I discovered and for the first time, the power of feminine energy is by losing it. Um, it's I've always been very intuitive, interesting, and things were quite easy for me in my very early 20s. And like just the fate and the universe would bring me where I need to be, and where I needed to be back then was by starting my first business, which taught me so much. And I've started a tech startup at 21, and I didn't have any business background experience, no business education as a journalist, like zero. And I really believed in what I wanted to build, like so deeply believed, and things were falling into place easily. And the best people I needed were there. I was surprised, how could I get these people? How could I find them? Like, I'm no one, I'm immigrant, I have no family friends here. And things were like really falling into place. I'm like, wow, I want that same time now. Please come. It's a slightly harder, but back then I was this pure shit of feminine energy. And at 21, I've raised quite a lot of money without any experience. I like learned on YouTube how to do that, and I did that. Met very, very powerful contacts and made it work. And as things progressed, I had more male mentors, investors, mentors, like two most amazing people with big hearts, really genuinely trying to help me to learn and grow and be successful as an entrepreneur. And of course, they were men. So the only way they knew deeply how to reach success, which they did, and it worked for them, was through this forceful masculine approach. It's like working hard, being very like stiff and strict so that people can respect you more, like stand up for yourself, be like super to the point and focused. And when you talk to people, gain and like claim respect in this like powerful, forceful way. And even like some of the advice that give me was, oh, you're so young and like so naive, so people need to take you more seriously, wear a suit, like be more like a guy, like, man up kind of thing. And I did that, and things really weren't working for me that way at all. Like people, because indeed our power is in empathy and creating space for others and making um things work like in this allowing, receiving way. But I started following the advice and forcing things and working super hard. And then like things just really didn't work. I remember like I cried on the floor and was calling my mentor. I'm like, I don't want to do anything anymore. I can't, like it just doesn't work. And while in that low moment where I already started looking worse, like you could see something's wrong, my most mature, wise mentor invited me for dinner and said, Mariya, why are you doing all of that? Like, why are you wearing this clothes? Why are you like changed? Why are you doing all of that? And I'm like, well, because I'm learning to be stronger and more powerful and like all of that stuff. And he's like, come on, your power is that you're a girl, like you're a woman, like all of that is bullshit. He because he's in his 50s, like he had two adult daughters, he has successful marriage, and it seems like he actually knew that no, your power isn't in that what society tells you. Your power is in the fact that you're this naive, open to the universe, flowy woman. And he even told me, like, come on, wear your favorite dresses with flowers to business meetings. That's like how it always worked for you well. It's what you like. And I'm really, really appreciate the conversation. I remembered it forever. And since then, I'm always me. And I also started learning way more about what is it that works for us. Because it's hard when the society tells you this is how it should be to achieve success. Then you have to like relearn your own way, find your other inspirations. That's why role models are so important, and there should be more women who share these things. And through like actual research and learning, I understood that, if you are in your own feminine, it's amazing. But then there are also things you can do to increase that feminine energy. No, like, and a lot of those things, a lot of those practices are starting from the space of exploring sexuality, which is a big part of what we do now with Feel in the company. But that's kind of like part of my journey of how I discovered it. And practices like dance, embodiment, yoni yoga, pussy yoga, like connection with other women, women circles, sharing, all of that looks quite silly for the outside, like mainstream society world that talks about success. But in fact, those little things help you so much just to like stay sane, release stress, awaken feminine, get into your power, feel sensual, sexy, beautiful, attractive, magnetizing, all of that. You need to work on it too. And here I want to ask you, what are the practices that you usually like advise for women to get into leadership from the feminine?
So you asking how they keep feminine in leadership or feminine in general?
I would like to hear about both. Maybe there are like things that overlap, but yeah, let me know. Like maybe simple practices that we could all.
This is very interesting. And also, I want just to share before I answer to your question that what the example you gave is incredible because I also feel that in my business. Like every time I feel that I'm forcing, I'm in burnout, I just feel that I don't magnetize things. Like every time I
Yeah.
try to push and move forward, and it's not saying that uh, you should do nothing. I'm saying that by working on your energy, by doing what you love, so again tuning in into your heart and knowing what you love will give you the energy, the joy, the pleasure, and that is actually your full, that's actually your greatest magnet. The moment that you leave your passion and you moved from this deep place of fulfillment, it will be easier to actually have more success in what you do, because everything that you do is so pleasurable, is so joyful, is so magnetic. And this is how the feminine thrives. The moment that you start from, I have to do this because they told me that, you can even have success. It can happen, but you will have to like be in burnout times all the time, because if you just do a little, or if you do like normal hours, yeah, maybe you have success, but you will never shine from it, you will not never radiate from that. And I believe that the greatest key for you having success, it's, and when I observe also some entrepreneurs, is they're living their passion, they're living like they're so joyful, they are so in their power, they are so they are so happy, some of them, that they are successful and they're very into their bodies, is because it's followed by the passion. So the moment that we incorporate this feminine energetics and understanding from the heart, will your leadership, it just takes a next level. And I experience that in my business every time that I am depleted or doing something out of my alignment, I just experience losing clients, like my offers don't go so well, and or I have to just push a lot the promotions, and it doesn't come naturally. And I
Yeah.
had some that are so aligned, that they just come from me deeply listening to my body and me deeply listening to the heart, and it's they get magnetic. And that's how actually, like, the failing and mistakes is also helpful, as you said, because from then we actually know ourselves. From actually failing and from doing mistakes, we also get to know ourselves and our gifts, because we will have a calibration that will say, okay, this is in alignment, this is not in alignment, this is you, this is not you. So that is very interesting. And I experienced, especially when I was working in fashion, like totally burnout, how I was not like thriving, and how all areas of my life were not thriving because me, I was not fulfilled. Yeah. So I wanted to share it a little bit. And in terms of being in the feminine, I think the first thing on leadership is the power of vulnerability. One of the biggest qualities of being in the feminine is us allowing ourselves to feel, again, feeling emotions, feeling our feelings. And that means bringing that also into your leadership, right? So allowing your heart and your emotions and processed in a healthy way, not that you come angry and you start to project all your angriness into your workspace. I'm not inviting people to do that, but bringing your emotions. For example, you feel happy in that life, feel loved, and let this energy to be poured in everything you do, and be drive you in all activities you are doing during the day. Allow your eros, your aliveness, to actually show it in your space, because when a person comes with their full of their emotions, like, it's just contagious, right? You just increase like the energy of everybody around. And remembering that the masculine, like the spiritual ancient traditions, like the masculine is emptiness, and the feminine is fullness, is totality, is energy. So the moment that the feminine brings this totality, she can actually multiply everybody around her. So we start to go into the multiplier leadership. When a feminine brings her joy and her love, and is available to bring vulnerability into the workspace, into the leadership, it, everybody can connect in a deeper level and adding value. And of course, bringing authenticity, this recalls again your being your authentic self, showing who you truly are. And again, you were saying about the dresses, the thing it was not working for you is because you were not being yourself. What actually shines is your essence. So the moment that you start dressing in a way to please society, the moment that you start saying things to please society, the moment that you start following misaligned advices against your heart, you are just shutting down your essence, which is actually the magnet and what is actually contagious. So you lose your authenticity and your uniqueness. What one of the biggest what makes like a product successful is their uniqueness, right? So
Exactly.
if an idea is very creative, is very unique, there is no way to escape success. So the moment that you tune into your uniqueness, your authenticity, everything you create is unique and authentic, and success is just inevitable. It's just a matter of time if you keep consistency. And then with the consistency, you need another quality of the feminine, which is trust and surrender. Trust that it's maybe not in the next day, but if your intuition, your heart says it's coming at a certain point and everything is taken care. So enhancing this sense of trusting and surrendering to what is, and actually doing something, like doing, but just by being in the feminine, just by trusting. So it's like you are doing like without doing, is a conscious not doing, let's say. And from that you can actually bring jewels into the world.
That's beautiful. Something, to listen to on a day where you're like, oh, I don't know where my life is going. To remind yourself of the trust and surrender. What I'm catching here and what I feel like would be so wonderful to bring up and also hear your opinion and share mine is this balance between feminine and masculine, especially in leadership and business. Because yes, we know what it's like when there is a masculine structure. Um, and yet I feel like, well, just also being in the feminine isn't always right. It's all
Exactly.
about balance, harmony. And right now in the modern world, especially in social media, and when we quite often in like feminist groups that celebrate the feminine, very often they kind of blame or shame masculine, which isn't
Yeah.
also helpful. It's
The
not helpful.
feminists.
Yeah, and it's like, well, it's we're not going to create more balance and harmony if we just kill the masculine or shame the masculine. And even within ourselves, as you were just saying, structure or consistency or doing, that's masculine, but it can be balanced in such a beautiful way when we create trust and surrender and pure authenticity and nurturing and empathy, while also implementing structure and organization and goals, and include the beautiful qualities of the masculine in the balance of our work and also in the world. I feel like now is the more do work we do as women and in such a space like sexuality, um very often men are even just like afraid to talk to us because of course there is like when it comes to feminine energy or sexuality, like they are kind of excluded or shamed for any dangerous word they say, and it's just not, that's also not good. That's not the feminine. We as women nurture and empathize. We don't blame, shame, and exclude. And I feel like, yeah, let's talk about it. How can we
So
create more empathetic
I
place?
think I think one of the other qualities that the feminine has, the real divine feminine, is compassion and radical acceptance.
Yeah.
So the moment that we are not accepting other, when we are not compassionate about where the other is in their processes, and this is applied to everything in love, relationships, leadership, we just lose our feminine heart.
Mm.
So the feminine, even in thousands of years ago, feminine always advocates for equality, right? Equanimity between masculine and feminine. So all the feminist movement is actually emasculating the feminine. So we are putting the having aversion to the masculine, and there are two ways: or you become ultra feminine, and the ultra feminine without masculine, like, it's one of the side effects is you are not going to be able to sustain your business because you need the structure and the chaos. And this is was actually my process, because I went from totally masculine to totally feminine, like the complete extreme. So when you have a trauma about something, so I had the trauma around being working like in a masculine way, being constantly depleted. So everything that I wanted was that complete extreme, which led me to have problems in around building a business that actually is sustainable and knowing how to managing my life in general. So actually my journey is actual has been in the past years how to actually I bring structure, organization, and healing my inner masculine in order to the masculine hold space and give the structure that I need for the feminine to thrive. So we need both. Always you need the balance of both. Of course, the feminine is made to be, the percentage should be more feminine, but we still need the masculine. But the masculine gives safety, and we need safety to thrive. Remember that energy, we moved by the energy. Energy is our business tool, I would say. If you don't have the right structure and the right direction, which is the qualities from the masculine, if you don't have a direction, it's just chaotic,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? it's
Feminine is chaos and masculine is organization.
exactly, it's completely chaotic. So it's very important that we have awareness that we need both. Of course, that sometimes you will listen from the masculine a lot of misaligned decisions to you, but this is how your feminine comes into the place and you feel inside yourself. Like this makes sense or this doesn't make sense to the heart. And putting our there is an archetype of the feminine that calls the wild woman that I found that has a lot of young energy, and I work a lot this archetype in the women that allow us to be just a bit of badasses, to put our boundaries. So how we can improve our masculinity, so putting our boundaries, um, having a structure and saying what's not aligned with ourselves. We tend to not saying no because we are afraid of the other's reaction. And here, what we want is to accept and embrace everything. Like
Mhm.
Goddess Isis, she embraces everything. And each person that comes to you comes with a message, with a learning, and is actually for you to improve, right?
Mhm.
So here, it's for the feminine to embrace also the qualities of the masculine to support the feminine. It doesn't come to actually shut us down, but to support and work
Mhm.
them within ourselves as well.
And that's also quite like a feminine thing to do, is like to look into a situation and look into what masculine has to say to you and trust that it's for you, and or empathize with it, accept it, or indeed if you feel that this isn't right, to put up a boundary where the balance of masculine would come into place. It's all a journey to figure that out.
Also, also there is something I want to really speak about, which is the awareness. This is an incredible tool for the women who really want to go deep on increasing productivity and creativity. I have designed actually a program called Empower Creativity, actually for corporates, and there is also the program about exponential creators that actually works on this. And we have a menstrual cycle, right? So along the month, and we have different levels of energy during the month. For example, the first week, the follicular phase, we are just in. It's like a spring. We are blossoming. Energy is increasing. We are. It's when we set goals, right? We just came from ending a cycle, like
Yeah, to
new moon,
rebirth.
and we are in a rebirth. We are creating something new. We are planting seeds. The second phase, which is the ovulation, we have so much energy. So when you're in our ovulation, is the time for procreation. So is actually when you also feel very alive. Our eros, our erotic energy, which is the aliveness, we are so activated. We can really sublimate our energy to create beautiful things. We can use our energy to actually manifest everything, literally.
Mm.
So powerful. Our orgasmic energy is it's so intensified during this period, and we can actually, I know in this period I can give like a lots of sessions during the day. It's like my energy doesn't have an end. I'm so alive and I can produce so much. And this is a really good time for women to actually uh, have a drive to put their fire to complete something that they haven't yet completed in the month before. They have the energy for that. And in the last ones, which are more, so this is more their young times, they can be actually more in their masculine because the energy is actually supporting this productivity from that polarity. And the last ones are very in the feminine. You are very emotional. You can actually tune into your emotions to take
To-
decisions in your life, to actually feel what's happening in your body, right? To take a
yeah.
rest. For example, in your menstrual cycle, you are in your wise woman archetype. You're so connected to your womb. You're so connected with your highest self. If you allow yourself to rest and to listen, that not also you're going into an emotional purge, because this is why menstruation exists, is for us to purge what no longer serves, but for you to actually create space for new things and to listen deeply what's not in alignment for you. And when you have doubts, this is the moment when you have clarity and yeah, answers that you were longing for the whole month. So it's very important that if women have awareness around these cycles, the power of decision making completely changes because they will be able to have way more clarity in everything that they do.
It's absolutely true. Honestly, this is another thing I've done on my discovery of feminine energy, especially applicable to running a business or building one. So after I read this book, Period Power, and allowed myself to accept the fact that this is natural and how it works. The fact that we live by this monthly cycle, not the daily cycle, and then there are advantages to each period. So it's so much better when you look at your cycle as like, oh, this is my opportunity to embrace different parts of me and my different abilities and different skills at different time. When you're like, I used to hate this end period, the winter, or like the approaching time to your menstruation, because like pain and you're so foggy and slow. But now it's like, oh, it's the time for me to reflect, to digest, to do the quiet admin work, to complete the low ends that I could do just like quietly sitting on my laptop drinking a coffee, not being social, like just doing me. And then there is this time of like spring and summer where like I'm gonna take 10 meetings a day, I'm gonna record all podcasts, I'm gonna record all content, I'm gonna go like at conferences and all this work drinks and all that stuff, and everything's gonna work out. But before, when you don't know that, you drag yourself onto social events in your winter. You're being absolutely not productive because you hate it, and people also see that. And now with this awareness comes like, oh, I'm going to use it to my advantage rather than to my disadvantage, which is
And
like so important. Mm.
yes, and for example, I used to do like, uh, and I normally I do the big things when I'm ovulating. But for example, I'm not also saying that when you are in your last phases of the menstrual cycle that you are like useless. Because for example, I want to give you a very interesting example. So this podcast was actually on hold for like 6 months. Let's say that I recorded most of the episodes were recorded a long time ago, and somehow I was not launching it, right? Was not the timing, or I didn't have the energy for it, or I was not prioritizing. Like something was always on the way, and I was just not launching. It took me like almost 6 months to launch the episodes. And one day something really happened to me, and it made me very angry, like very, very angry. Nothing to do with my work. It was in a personal life, and I was so angry. And I have to say that I was also in my the luteal phase, so just like 3 days before the menstrual cycle. And normally you tend to be very emotional, right? And when you are angry, something happens to you when you are in this phase is like, oh my God, you want to explode, right? And normally what happens when women don't have emotional mastery, they don't know how to master their emotions, they actually create magnificence through emotions. This is actually a module that I teach in one of my programs, Exponential Creatrix, because you can tune this rage and this angriness into power of creation. So for example, I was so angry, I was like, oh my God, how I'm gonna use this angry. And at the time I was not even able to work because this angry sometimes takes place and all over the place. And I was like, I was just not in a place to do even a meditation. I was just so angry. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna use my fire. I remember I seated around the fire. I actually made a fire. I was in the beach. Um I was in a beach and I made a fire and I was just meditating, processing my emotions, shaking, and then asked to the fire to actually use my own fire to create something amazing and create energy for me to build something great. And I remember that this I had so much creative vital force energy and I awakened my arrows through my angriness. And I decided, okay, I'm going to do something radical. Today, I'm going to use this energy for my podcast. And I remember in one day, I edited all the episodes and I launched my podcast was launched like 12 episodes in one day.
Oh, that's actually what, by the way, a great strategy. That's what they advise to do.
Podcast was on hold for like 6 months. And I'm like, today, I have so much energy, like really the dark goddess that exists within me was so activated that like, okay, I have to use this energy in something. And I started to launch all the podcasts. I went to all the episodes. I was listening, I was editing, like they were almost all editing. I was just procrastinating, and okay, today I'm gonna do it. And with the fire of my angriness made me launch the podcast, and actually was like people are like, okay, launch a podcast, launch 12 episodes in a row. I was like, and I had the energy
Amazing.
to do that. So when you are also in your angriness, and like try
Mhm.
to, in these moments, also try to see like, okay, how can I turn this in creative vital force energy? Because angriness is power, is fire. How can I create this fire in create something magnificent instead of allowing this fire to destroy me?
Yeah, yeah, of course. It's so good to learn that, to be aware and then channel it into the right direction. Into productivity, by the way. So, oh, so cool. Well done.
Yes.
Well,
So
but that reach lots of amazing people out there and help out, same as your work and our work. Mhm.
exactly. And just also to conclude that, for women who want to take some takeaways home from this podcast, and are in the path of improving their leadership from the feminine, is actually always listening the heart, improving your sixth sense. Listen deeply to that. Womb consciousness, there are companies that are already applying this, especially creative companies that need women in their fullness, in their totality, in their creative power. So taking at least when they rest, when they are in your menstrual cycle, and being able to have this consciousness, to build powerful strategies for the productivity of the company and everybody around you. So, and also using your emotions, how these emotions can actually create beautiful things. For example, I give the example of the angriness, but actually sometimes sadness. Sometimes most of my programs and some of artists create incredible art through their sadness and their grief, and it's so deep. Actually, in these states you can reach depth. So for women that are in creative fields, and I believe that everybody is creative, I believe that all jobs are creative, you always need creativity, actually are on those states you reach depth, and that depth you can put in practice in the next ovulation phase, for example. So having womb consciousness is incredible and enhances your creativity, innovations, right? So empathy, having, using your heart to create connection and empathetic, meaningful relationships, taking decisions that actually fulfill your heart, awakening our eras. Every day have a ritual. If you have a very masculine work or position or role, make sure that you come home and you feed yourself with nurturing self-care practices. Go for a massage and eat good food, nourish yourself, allow yourself to experience love, loving relationships, right? And surrendering trust. See where you are in your relationship, being your feminine, balance in that way, for example. Create connection and with your community. Search for connection. Yeah.
That's so key. One of the things I just said is like, especially if you're in a masculine world at your work, having little rituals is so important and they are so helpful. Like whether it's morning routine or meditation or an occasional like beautiful sensual exercise or dance or like embodiment practices, even 3 minutes a day makes such a
Exactly.
difference and so important. I think like generally for feminine energy in business, that's like key. Without that, I don't even know how to work.
Exactly. And for example, hip circles, do hip circles, dance. Hip circles 5 minutes a day allow you to actually move the stagnant energy from the pelvis, right?
Mm.
So it's a very simple practice, and you just put sensual music and you do hip circles or sensual moves 5 minutes a day. It already does an incredible job, seriously. And nurturing yourself. Nurturing is such the key of the feminine, nurturing with self pleasure. So go into like minded communities of women, and if you don't want to practice alone, go into mentorship, going to programs, join women's circles, find ways.
Heal.
Exactly.
We do
Find
that together.
exactly. Find ways to be sure you are in feminine environments, because just by being in feminine environment, you are bringing your feminine energy back. Like when women get together, they just
That is one of the ways, that one of the most powerful ways to kind of get your feminine energy, get your sexual creative energy, is by practicing sensual, deep, intimate feminine practices together with other women, because this way we like amplify and like accelerate the energy. And it can be also so beautiful together because we are like learning, connecting with each other. That is, yeah, that is one of the most like nurturing, fulfilling ways to get into your feminine. Mm.
so beautiful. Yes, so beautiful, so beautiful. Well,
Yeah, I know that you'll have to run shortly. Me too. To our creations.
yes.
I want to say that I'm looking forward for you to be coming on to Feel Community and to speak about sexual energetics. So I'm very much looking forward to for that too. And that is just in a few weeks, so that's beautiful, and lots of amazing things coming up as well soon for us. So thank you for this opportunity to share, and there will be so many more.
Thank you so much for accepting also coming here into the podcast. And yeah, for those who are listening, please join Fill Up. And we are just doing great things in some weeks, like powerful week just about sexual energetics, and also like very deep things we are going to share. So thank you for joining us. Thank you, Mariya, for being here. And see you on the next episode.
Yeah, yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing more and learning more. So thank you for today. And yes, if anyone wants to join, if you all girls want to join our group, I guess there will be some link in the
Yes,
show.
just below we will put all the details for you to join us.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to more with you.
Ciao, ciao. Ciao,
Ciao.
ciao. Have a great day. Thank you so much for joining me in this episode. I hope you have enjoyed, and if so, let me know how it landed to you. For now, have a gorgeous, beautiful day, and I see you on the next one.